the bus is back again. It's once again Friday night. It's just after 9 o'clock. And of course, you know what that means. It must be time for that Friday feeling. I don't know how much a Friday feeling we've all got after that result yesterday, but we'll have a wee chat about it. We'll try and get through it together. As always, I said, we Friday therapy session. And as you can see, folks, Friday night tradition on the bus. He must be here with me, Canada's favourite Tim, the wise man of the bus. The horns behind him are almost lined up as well, perfectly with his head. It is Liam, the Punk Duck Lawler. Liam, how are you doing, my man?
The horns are there for a reason, because it's like I am getting fed up with this team. But anyway, there's some positives, some negatives. We can get rid of the Greg Taylor klaxon. I'm sure he's doing great in Greece now. But I mean, yeah, we'll get into it and that. But it's there was a few questions I think asked that I hadn't even thought about watching that last game, and it's just got me in a real wonder what direction this team is going in and what direction is the club going in. So I think maybe we can put some light in the questions tonight.
Yeah, I think we can. I think we definitely can. And wait a minute, what's that I hear, Liam? Rumours are saying that we have a Friday friend with us tonight as well. We're not a twosome tonight. We've got a third person.
Somebody's rung the bell on the bus. Oh, there's a stop.
Yeah, indeed. There's doing a run in. You may know him from another channel that's very close to this one, because it is none other than Steve-O from Celtic World Orders joining us tonight. A bit of a late addition. It was kind of late on in the evening, but Steve-O has come in. As I say, he's done a run in for us tonight. So, Steve-O, how are you doing, mate?
Brilliant, mate. It's nice. This feels like something in an old pair of jeans. This is a familiar setup with this trio on a Friday night. So, yeah, I don't think, to be fair, many folk would have had a bus picking me up on their bingo card, but when the invite out there, I was more than happy to do it. And actually, funnily enough, by the way, in a serious kind of side note, I was on an actual bus for my first time in about 25 years the other day. So, you know what they say about buses? Never come along and then twice come along at once. So maybe it was fate, but I'm happy to be here, guys, and talking with you again.
Good stuff. And to keep up the bus, we had the show the other night as well, where Regan was late because he was waiting on a bus, ironically, to come on to this bus. So just buses everywhere, man. Just buses all over the place, folks. But before we go any further, it's that time of the show where I need to remind you all to do all that good stuff. Help this new channel out massively and help us get closer to the 500. That's what is the target I've set. We're on 459, I want to say, the last time I checked. So we're not too far away. We're not a kick-off of it here to reach 500 before the season starts, which is only worryingly 9 days away. So yeah, Celtic board season starts in 9 days, by the way. But yes, if we've hit the subscribe button, it helps out massively, and to of course spread awareness of the new channel, hit the like button, and helps out the old algorithm. People who like watching Celtic related podcast content are more likely to get us recommended in their YouTube inboxes. So of course, likes go a long way on that one. And let's see who is in tonight's chat. Who's joining us on this Friday session? Let's have a wee look. We have got Jimmy Six Pouches, Fallon Partridge. I like these putting there. Very good. Scott, Ian McIntosh, Graham Tyrrell is here. Sound the klaxon. Greenblood is here. James Kennedy, Mark McDonald. Who else have we got? Ali has come in as well. William O'Toole is here. Graham Martin is here, and I think I've gave everyone a shout out so far that has left a wee message. But of course, get involved with our chat throughout the night, and we will engage with you along the way. And what else can you do? I've said to subscribe already if you've just discovered us, and of course, share the link of this new channel, The Boys on the Bus, on whatever social media platform tickles your fancy. Or whatever social media platform hasn't bumped itself to the ground yet, because things like Twitter and stuff are just a cesspit these days. But anyway, all that said and done, all that good stuff out the way. Yeah, let's get another Friday feeling on the way. And let's talk about the main story. Obviously, we're not going to win a pre-season treble, guys. Gutted, absolutely gutted. Everyone in the back's upset. I know, everybody. Let's keep calm. Let's just keep calm here. I didn't see the game yesterday because, as I've said a few times now, I don't have a Fire Stick. I'm not Fire Stick CSC, unfortunately. So I've only seen the goals. I've seen them on YouTube, but it sounds like I didn't want to see the game, to be honest, by the way it played out. It was a bit of a disaster. Liam, try and talk me through what you saw of it, because from what I've witnessed of the goals, most of the ones that we lost were just it was like a pinball wizard going on in the box. It was like calamity everywhere. Try to clear the ball, it bounces off somebody, they can't quite control it. Then it just falls to an Ajax player on the edge of the box, and they just expertly bend it right in the top corner. It just felt like rinse and repeat for most of the goals. And yeah, am I quite accurate with that summary?
You're not far off. However, in the first half, we actually did play well. We played well. We had some great things. Our goal that's the goal you imagine seeing when Tierney came to the team. That's the goal we all had on our head of what he would bring. He made an absolutely brilliant pass to Hatate, and I'm not kidding you, it looked like a bowling green pass where it even sort of accelerated towards the end. It was weird. And Hatate got on it, run it to the line, put it across, and Yang put it in nowhere. And that looked like, wow, okay, you can see what Kieran Tierney brings to the team. So that was a positive. We had another, we hit the bar on the post, at one point as well, where we could have went ahead. And overall, the team looked no bad while we were pressing forward. Second half, I don't know, they flipped a switch and they said, let's attack them. Let's attack them and let's press them really hard in the middle. And our guys just didn't know how to react. We fell back, then the subs came on. Tierney, I think, is forging such an identity in this team that when he goes off, a lot of the leadership and a lot of the marqueeness goes off as well. Like, he's a marquee player. You could see that the way he came onto a game, and I think he's just going to get better and better. And you could see that there's players around him who've not played with anybody at that level. And so, yeah, that was the first stuff. And then it opened up some stuff. I mean, I think, we've lost Ozzy, Hulk Hogan, Theo Huxtable, and Kasper Schmeichel's shoulder all in 1 week because he looked weak on that left side. Didn't he? Just seeing he kept to be going for the ball. And one of the things that makes him a good goalie is that way that he whips up his arm, forcefully to get balls. And I'd hate to think we're losing that from him because he's still not fully recovered for this injury. So that's what I said. Lots of questions, huh?
That is a concern that he's still showing some sort of signs of that injury that arguably maybe cost us the Scottish Cup in hindsight when you look at it. But yeah, Steve, what was your sort of take then on the game and what Liam said there? Just pretty accurate, just a drop off, because Liam's not the first person I've heard say in the last 24 hours that we're actually okay in the first half. It was just in the second half. But was it down to like the subs? Was it just one of them where he changed too many players? Or is it what William said, like, were Ajax just that much better than us?
It's hard when you look at it statistically, and I know we often, yourselves as well, talk about stats, and they are just there. They're a bit of paper, right? So the eyeball test is always the most important thing. It's cliche to say it. It literally was a game of two halves. That first half, Celtic didn't look extraordinary, but they looked comfortable enough. They were dealing with most things. Obviously, they lose the goal. They get themselves back in. As Liam says, it's a brilliant goal. Actually, a decent wee bit of Ida. He kind of falls over, back to Tierney through it. A good sweeping move. It's kind of what we've been going to be a bit accustomed to with Celtic as of late through this pre-season, the last two games. But no, they had a good few chances, a few unfortunate matters where they probably could have and should have with a bit more clinical finishing. Could have been in there at the lead at half time. But yeah, there were some changes at the second half, but you've also got to bear in mind that Ajax finished that game up with something a bit of a shadow side themselves. It was a reduced, almost kind of circa youth type team that they finished up with. So you can only caveat that so much. But as he did say, the likes of Tierney came off, there was a notable drop off, and it just sort of lays bare the issues that we've got and why you've always got to take pre-season results, particularly the two that we had and we're getting high on, Lisbon and Newcastle. Take it with face value and a pinch of salt, because it would be easy to buy in and say, that's us sorted. But you then see the drop-off. Take Inamura, for example, who's been a good wee surprise package. But when you remove Tierney, you do see that there's levels down, and you still see that he's very much a developmental player. So I think that was the big take-home for me. That, yeah, we've got some guys that are showing that they can be involved in the squad, but there is still gaping holes. It's the trade-off when you make those subs.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw the goal that we scored. The ball for Tierney was just magnificent, and that's the class that you're bringing into the team. I mean, that first time pass, the run from Hatate it was that went through, and then the Yang gang on the end to finish it. And let's move on to Yang, because there was an interesting headline doing the rounds of a quote from after the game. And Liam, this is our new weekly segment. It's no longer talking about Greg Taylor. It's coming to you for your opinions on a quote by Brendan Rodgers, which is quite worrying. So he talked about the transfer speculation around the Yang gang himself, and basically said he's currently a starting winger for us. We cannot sell him right now because Patrick Lawton's always says we need additions and we need them quick. And yeah, that's where we are right now, Liam. Yang is effectively in line to start next week against St Mirren. And I don't think many people could have seen that coming at the tail end of last season. But yeah, we've managed to send so many wingers on their way. And yeah, we're down to Maeda and Yang and James Forrest. I believe we are a Maeda injury away right now from a real problem next Sunday, Liam.
And yeah, I couldn't name one of the young boys on the team right now fighting for that position. Like any of the boys coming through for the B team, I could not name you which one's a winger or not right now. I haven't seen any of them be given a chance, and it looks like, yeah, we're relying on like 3-4 players to fill those positions, and one of them just happens to be our best centre forward. I mean, that's what really annoys me. Is I really thought I was looking forward to see Maeda at centre forward and then buying wingers to support him, not the other way of hammering him, because I don't think he's had a particularly standout pre-season, not the way he did last year when we had him auditioning for the centre forward role. And I don't know if that's part of his, the heads went doing. I mean, he looks every bit a professional. But right now, I think we're playing with him. That's a guy who wants to play up front, and we've put him in the wing, and it's only because the negligence that we're not out there and stocking up with wingers. You'd think wingers would be easier to get. It used to be all we ever bought at one point. You know, we must have the same agents that, you know, wingers are us or something, whoever we can phone, because we definitely need some. And yeah, I'm hoping there's a trick up the sleeve. It's really easy to get down right now. And I was hating on Rodgers earlier, and you know, and I'm trying to think, it's like, all right, come on, show us there's something here that you guys aren't asleep at the wheel again. You know, because when it's too late, it's too late.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think yesterday should serve as a wake-up call that if they think that we're in good nick to start the competitive action next week, to say we're only one injury, maybe two away from being in a really bad position right now. We're 100% weaker than what we were. It's quite amazing how the transfer window's playing out right now. And yeah, as you said, we used to sign wingers all the time. As the manager once said, once upon a time, I don't know why we're signing another winger, but yeah, here we are, you know, now crying out for them. But yeah, it seems like every venture we look into just seems to not result in anything. The Balakisha stuff still rages on to the point where I'm like, look, Celtic, just walk away from this one. This one ain't happening now at this stage. And yeah, it just seems like every other thing that's coming up. There was a boy from the Dutch league through the week that his name came up out of nowhere, and apparently we're way short and they're bidding on that one, according to press stories. Surprise. So yeah, but that's where we're kind of at right now. But yeah, Steve-O, in terms of other than the winger positions, what part of the park are you happiest with? Let's focus on that. Where do you think, okay, we're actually all right there? Because for me, I would say I think the middle of the park is got enough options going on. I think we're okay there. I don't think I was worried about Hatate leaving. I thought that was going to be a thing. Then I was also like, I was convinced that Hatate was out for the entire summer with the injury that he caught at the end of the season. So I was quite surprised to see that he then popped up playing the pre-season games. But no, I don't feel like there's any murmurs of him leaving. So I think in terms of the middle of the park, we're okay there. That's probably the only bit, Steve-O, I could say that we're probably safe there. The rest could do a wee bit of work.
That's putting it lightly. Yeah, I think that the middle of the park is undoubtedly the strongest set that we've got. But it only became the strongest set that we've got, I would say, by the addition of Benjamin Nygren. Now, he was marketed as a winger when he was brought in, but it was pretty clear that he's better in the 10 or in that sort of creative or, you know, box-to-box sort of midfielder type. He's doing a lot of the dirty work. He's advancing us up the forward line. So, yeah, that middle part is sorted between. I think that the forwards, the middles going through will be McGregor, Nygren, and Hatate. That's what I would go with. You've then got McCown, you've got Engels, You've got Bernardo, the lesser seen, but there's good options in there. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the most comfortable position we're in, but it doesn't help you because there's no real versatility. None of those players that I think that we've just mentioned could really properly go and cover the wings and make a decent impact on it. And as you said, it's actually quite desperate, the state of play. I mean, there's certain questions that yesterday left me with more questions than answers. You know, we've got Jota out in a long-term injury. We let go of Nicholas Kuhn. Marco Tilio's off, but he still gets on the pitch. You finish a game with Tilio, Forrest, and Kenny up front. I'm sorry, but in 2025, that's just damn right shameful. That's actually embarrassing. And it seems easy. The one thing I want to say, I mean, I was talking with Liam earlier, and I think the one thing I want to know is what is the hold-up? You mentioned Balikwisha. This is becoming a pain in the backside. This has been going on for ages. You mentioned Jacob Bruin, that 5 million for Go Ahead Eagles. No, here's 1.5 million. Aurea Setter, whoever it is, right? But the reality is Celtic sit here at this moment in time for this transfer window, £20.75 million in profit, right? And there's glaring holes. We need wingers. We need defensive cover. I'd argue you need a centre half. We definitely need another left back and a right back as well. Give us one of them. Now, some of the names that we've been getting linked with, particularly those two wingers, not problem solved, but a big part of the problem solved, getting in those two wingers. Celtic could go out and sign those two wingers and still have nearly £11 in profit before a ball's been even kicked. What's the hold up? My patience is wearing thin, mate.
Didn't Peter Lawwell was supposed to have said somewhere about we need to spend it because we get taxed on it? And it's like, well, that's all the bloody reason to start spending. So, I mean, I would like to think that this isn't the case, but sadly, there has been moments of this in the past, Liam, that they are waiting on Champions League qualification, and if it happens or no, and to me, it's like that's just wild because try and guarantee it. But well, maybe, and again, I've said this before, do they not have enough confidence in the recruitment that even if they do go and spend, that it might still go Pete Tong, and then they've spent all that money, and then we're not in the Champions League? Is that what's going on here? Are they waiting to just see who we draw first? Are they maybe thinking if we draw, say, a Slovan Bratislava, who I think are one of the potential opponents, we squished them last season, that'll be fine. But there are some dangerous teams in that draw. I think Basel is one of them. And Sturm Graz were in the Champions League last season. Yes, granted, they did finish in that bottom 12 or whatever it was, but still, again, a team that's been in the Champions League in recent years, they're not going to be, it's not one off as well, it's two legs. And we know with Celtic, when it comes to an away game in Europe, it can be a very, very nervy watch, to say the least. So again, I just can't get my head around what are they waiting for, and if it is something to do with they're waiting on qualification or just waiting to see who we draw, which I think the draw is early August. We'll know who we've got. It's just a very dangerous game, Liam. It really is.
I think it's symptomatic of having no new ideas in the boardroom. There's nobody challenging any of these people to do anything differently. By their set of accounts, by their data and their numbers, they're doing a very successful job. That's how you can talk about data can be formed and molded and all that to fit most arguments. You can find a way for data to support it. You just got to be bendy and flexible. We don't know what Celtic's ambition is, going back to one of Rodgers' earlier words, because they don't talk to us. And Mike Nicholson, I don't know how he's getting away with that, because right now it's like, okay, well, if we're not spending the money on these players, where is the money going? Don't tell us about taxes. You'll sell me 3 strips a year. I have to pay taxes on them. So it's not like you're the only one paying taxes on stuff. Yeah, it's really bad form right now. I fully expect to see him and Peter Lau on an episode of Hoarders where they open up a room in Celtic Park and it's just full of money and add-ons and things like that we've been gathering over the years. And it's just, I don't know, it's almost like there is a...
Marvin Comper's looking at the back. There's Marvin Comper. That's where we put him. Oh, okay, cool.
I know. There could be Lagerbielke in there.
Maybe.
It's
McCarthy.
McCarthy's side in there. Yeah,
he's
not been released. His contract. He's been hiding in this cupboard the entire time. That's it.
That's his job. He's guarding the cupboard. It's like even if he goes, you mark him wherever he goes. So he's still marking the security guard. Crazy, isn't it? I mean, you look at all the money that we've got, and every single fan every podcast, we're all singing the same tune. Spend the money. Now, we go off our head, when we spend 9 million on that Ada and stuff like that. That's because, that stuff we didn't have to go that high. It wasn't because it cost that much. It was the fact that we let it inflate that much by not being proactive. And this sort of inactivity right now, you're seeing it just in a different level. And that's what seems to be Celtic's problem. They keep giving into, Miss Jean Brodie says, never give in to petrification. It'll just, you'll turn into a statue. And what ends up happening is you don't do any action at all. And this inaction of being scared to make the wrong move, sign the wrong player, not making the Champions League, I don't know. That's just against the boardroom philosophy is the exact opposite of what people like Jock Stein and tried to create around our club, that we were moving forward, that we took action, we attacked, that was what made Celtic football glamorous. I'm ready to hear the SWAT teams coming into my neighbourhood now. So
Greg Taylor's on his way. That's a Greg Taylor accent going off there. Tiny bit of comment saying Rodgers needs to change his tactics other than deep shite. I've said a few times we just need some alternative tactics as well. It's something that's been abundantly obvious with Rodgers. Hey, maybe this is all part of the master plan, Steve. Or maybe this is one of these 4D chess moments. Maybe he is changing his tactics right in front of us. We don't even know it. Maybe that's what he's trying to do by not signing wingers anymore. Maybe. I doubt it. I doubt it. He was obviously looking to keep the same shape and it'll be the same sort of formation. But I do think it wouldn't do any harm, Peter King, if he had an alternative at least to change it up, because there are those games, we saw them last season and his first season back, where a team comes to Celtic Park, stodges it up, a Kilmarnock, a Motherwell, whatever, and you're just passing it sideways and whatnot and looking to break them down. So, to change the tactics wouldn't go amiss at all. And Steve, I've got one for you here, mate. I was going to come to you on about the centre midfielders. You mentioned Engels in there, and this comment came up. Engels will have to now up his game with Benji, and obviously highlighted Benjamin Nygren. So is it right to say last chance saloon for Engels this season? He's got to really push on this season. The first season I can get it. Pre-season was a bit delayed for him. He did come in a bit late in the window and whatnot. His transfer surprise dragged on a little bit. But this season, it's interesting to see Nygren's obviously shown right away that he would be a starter. Hitate's looked pretty sharp, and McGregor's McGregor. So Engels, you're going to have to, when he gets his chance this time, he's going to have to take control of the game, Steve-O.
Absolutely. See, when it comes to Engels and it comes to Adamida, right? Folk don't like when you have a negative or a criticism of these guys, or you bring up the fees. They don't like it, but it's the harsh reality. And I think also as well as that, there's not just a knock-on effect for him. There could potentially be a knock-on effect for what we are just discussing. Why are we not spending money? Right now, if Brendan Rodgers has got designs on guys that are in that 7, 8, 9 plus bracket, whether we like it or not, whether it's right or wrong, the board are going to look at an Arne Engels, they're going to look at an Adam Ida, and they will have a baseline expectancy. What that expectancy is, we don't know, right? But I imagine they would probably want these guys to be indispensable, absolute first name on the team sheet. Like, wow, they have to be in our team. And I think it's fair to say on both those guys that, would you say they have to start? Probably not is the answer, if you're really honest with yourself. And as far as Arne Engels, I think the problem that he's got, I said that I would give him a full pre-season. I thought I quite liked what I saw last season. You can see, I hate the phrase, but you can see there's a good player in there. But I also feel that, as you say, we might need to change what we do with our tactics, with the Bhoys certain players, because I think if you parachute him into a European side, like an Atalanta for talking sake, or something like that, he probably thrives and he probably looks $1 million. He looks amazing, coast through games. But when you put him into Scottish football, or you put him into certain environments or certain game styles where it's about hard work and hard yards, he doesn't have that in his locker. He just doesn't. You take a look at last night, for example, you could probably argue the toss that he's responsible, or at least partly culpable, for goals 4 and 5. Why? Because he's the deepest defender before the defensive line, and he invites the players on. He doesn't rush them, he doesn't press them, he doesn't put them under pressure, try to shift them down the line, or make them make a fault. He just stands off, and you can't have that in a Celtic team. That's one thing. Nygren isn't blessed with great speed, but he's got work rate on him. Same with McCown. He's got the work rate. Hatate's learning that. McGregor is McGregor. That's something he's going to have to find. He's going to have to find a lot more levels in his game, particularly at this moment in time. He was getting criticism on podcasts, on social media, interspersed with some praise, but everybody says, let's see what he does during this pre-season. Give him a full pre-season. See him kicking on. Has he kicked on this pre-season? Has he looked any better than he did last season? Honestly, no, I don't think he has. If anything, I think he's probably actually played worse than he did the tail end of last season, if I'm being totally honest with you. So yeah, he's got a lot of work. I don't think he's a starter. Certainly not next week, he isn't. But again, it might be a horses for courses type of thing. If Celtic get into these Champions League games, as we've seen with Bernardo, lesser seen in the league, but was always wheeled out for the Champions League, you might get that with Engels. But again, I think the problem is double-sided. One is his position, but two, the board might be thinking, why are we going to give you another 9 million? Because see that last guy that we spent 11 on, he's not exactly ripping up trees, is he?
Yeah, that's been one of the things being a concern for me. A lot of fans are shouting for, we need to go and spend the money, spend the big money, and I get it. I mean, obviously, when the club are advertising and big neon lights, essentially, we are rich, we have lots of money, and then you're hearing bids of 1 million, 2 million, and stuff like that. But by the same token, there are a lot of those same fans who are ranting about that, who will very quickly tell you that, Engels is red rotten, Trusty's red rotten, he does red rotten, and it's like, yeah, we're kind of, you can't really have it both ways in this one, Steve. It's
polarising, everybody.
Every signing has an inherent risk, and the price doesn't necessarily equal they're going to be amazing. It's just it's what you're willing to pay and what the club that's selling is looking for at the end of the day. And obviously, with Norwich last season, they saw us coming. That Simpsons meme where Homer Simpson turns into a pigeon at the carnival and they see him coming. It's like, that's it. Norwich saw us turn into that pigeon, and they were like, that's it. That's Celtic coming right down the pathway here with the money in hand. And they milked it for what it was worth. But Ali makes a point here, Liam, and this is something I do agree with. Again, I've said this many, many times over the last few years. I don't really care if Celtic do spend loads and loads of money. They just need to spend the money correctly, even if it is players for lower prices, because there's been a track record over the years, the last 15 years or whatever, where we've spent low amounts of money on players and guys totally under the radar that nobody's ever heard of, and they end up being a sensation. So it just shows you the players are out there. It's just they've got to be scouted correctly. Is it maybe a case, Liam, that there's just the way football's evolved since those days? Because again, I'm looking back at the sort of early days of Neil Lennon's first term and going into Ronnie's term, where we've found a lot of decent players for that sort of 2 million and under bracket. But the way football's evolved with the stats and sports science and XG and this and that, do you think that's kind of one of the reasons why we're struggling to find these guys now? And Steve was just getting up. He said you had a back operation recently, didn't you, Steve?
I do apologise. I've got 6 pillows here. I'm only allowed to sit down for a certain period of time and to stand up, so apologies.
No, do whatever you need to do, mate. No, not a problem at all. But yeah, as I'm saying, with the sports science, do you think that's maybe playing a part in why it is becoming harder for us to find the right player? Because we're looking into that and maybe a bit too much, but sadly, that is the way the game is nowadays. So I guess you have to look into it. For the fans like you and I, we'll just use the eye test a lot of the time. But for coaches and whatnot nowadays, it is all about sports science and all that. So they're being extra particular now where they're shopping rather than just sending good old-fashioned scout, just goes and watches them and does a few reports on them. It seems to be a lot more deeper now.
I think that's probably where we're getting the discrepancies, where you've got a player valued at 5 million and we're offering 1.5. It might be down to the fact that the data and the stats doesn't support that. They're not looking at any X factor or marquee value of player that, guys like Tierney and stuff that come through unnoticed until they get a shot. I think the biggest problem right now is just inaction. I mean, Neil Lennon bought some clangers. So did Barkas and a few guys during his time as well. Jetty, Ange, and Kobayashi, and a couple other ones as well that didn't make it out. But the fact is, at least you're getting 3 out of 2, or 3 out of 5. I mean, 3 out of 5, 2 out of 3, or 3 out of 5, or you're taking a chance. I know everybody's going to get there, but the idea is you have to respond and you have to look like you're doing something. The inaction right now, I think, is what frustrates everybody, because when we do get something and it doesn't meet our expectations, we hang on and we put too much value into it. I think, Arne Engels is a classic example. If Arne Engels doesn't show up in the next quarter, then we have to look of seeing that, okay, who else do we cycle through that position and see if we can still sell him and make some of that money back. So say you don't sell him for 11 million. I'm sure you'll get 10 for a German team. I'm sure you'll get 9, 8 for a Champions League team. I don't think it's that much of a gamble. And I think we have to be a bit more mercenary with the mercenaries that we are hiring as well, where if they don't live up to let's recycle them and see what more that we can get. Because right now it's stopping us, it's paralysing us from building a better team.
Aye, no, definitely. Steve, another thing, though, there's a lot of debate in the chat going back and forth between everybody about what they think is going on and whatnot. And this is one that's obviously been looming over us, and it's going to continue looming over us. Do you think, as well, when it comes to negotiations, a lot of players want to know who the manager's going to be beyond this season? Because right now, none of us seem to know. Brendan Rodgers probably has an idea in his head what he's going to be. He's not going to tell us right now. It doesn't. But most people are speculating. I've said before, and I'm going to say it, I'm going to stick to it, and I'm not going on any sort of in the know knowledge that I've heard. I think he will sign an extension after the window's closed, but it'll be one of those 1 year rolling contract things he'll change over to, because the 3 year deal was actually an anomaly. We don't normally do that. But I say a lot of people are all like, no, he's going to go. But I say we're all in limbo right now. But you've got to imagine a player. If they even get to the negotiation table, if we manage to get them to that stage, Steve-o, they're going to want to know about the manager's future, I would guess, as part of it. So, that could be...
Yeah, in terms of going public with it, it's a toss of a coin. I've mulled this over in my head. Should Brendan Rodgers declare straight away, this is going to be, I'm leaving at the end of the season, or I'm going to extend, right? It can go one of two ways, can't it? I'm leaving, everybody wants to buy in and send him off on a high. Or if he's leaving by man investing, equally, of course, the obvious is if he signs and that's it, and he's staying on. However, if he knows where he's going to be at, if he is going to, as you predict, do an extension on his deal, you would like to think at least that Celtic would have the foresight when they're having any negotiations with players to drop that and let them know, by the way, the manager is staying here, right? Might not have been made official, but you plant a seed. But then at the same time, I know people want to know who they're going to be working under, but you are Celtic Football Club, and whoever it's going to be once Rodgers eventually moves on, you would like to think it's going to be off a certain level and a certain standard and a certain pedigree. So it's really just about what you offer that player. As a platform, you can win trophies, you'll be in Europe. Yep, your manager and your coaching staff is always going to associate that, but if you can get players in and they're surrounded by good players, it's all about environment, and that is as attractive as who's in charge of you. Let's be honest here, and you pay them it. But as Liam says, the biggest thing that is frustrating is, and I agree with what he brought up on screen, it doesn't matter if we're going by 10, £1.5 million players, if they turn out to be good. If they've got the attributes, they've got the standards, the price doesn't guarantee you they're going to be good or bad, right? We've seen that. But I just am worried, and I just to go back on it, I'm worried about self-fulfilling prophecies. Remember, I think it was 2 seasons ago, Wall talks about the saving the money about for events that we don't make the Champions League, right? I reiterate, 20.75 million in profit at this period in time. You're you've been linked by 3, maybe 4 players that are valued around about £5 million. You could go and buy all of those and still be in profit before you've kicked a ball. Now, I get what you say is they might wait and say, let's see what the draw is, but that shouldn't be the way off it. Get the players in early, bed them in, give yourself the best chance to make the Champions League and go on and get that pot of money. You should be attacking it and saying, no, we will make that qualifier. We will qualify. Get the players in. See if you didn't. See if it went wrong. It's twofold. One, the domestic stuff theoretically becomes a lot more easier to give you another crack at the whip. But more importantly, if you drop down into Europa League, you have a better squad and you can claw back some of the money. You won't make Champions League money, but you could claw back a lot of money by going deep into that into competition. And we know that if we're great at marketing things, they'd market a brilliant Europa League story, wouldn't they? Give yourself a fighting chance to do it there. Because the problem you've got is see if we didn't make the Champions League, they're not going to go, well, we're getting the Europa League, let's go and spend some money and take a crack at that. No, they'll go, oh, we're in the Europa League, we need to hold back that money that we lost out. It's dicing with death when Celtic's coefficient is absolutely red raw at this moment in time. Celtic need to be doing everything they possibly can to bolster that. And getting into the Champions League and winning games in there is going to do you a hell of a lot of good. But if you don't, doing it in the Europa League, it's just so backward. I'm honestly, I've tried to remain optimistic as much as I can, but the more and more it ticks on, the more and more it annoys me. And yet, to come back to that, could it put players off? Yes, it could. But at the end of the day, they've got one two-legged match to get into the Champions League, and then you can say to them, you've got 8 games in the Champions League, probably 10 minimum. What else do you want?
I say this season, we're hoping to maybe push on at the next round. See, last season we were desperately unlucky when you actually look at how the Bayern Munich game played out. So we're not at that point in time. Looking at it, it's like we're not a million miles away from being able to maybe go on. But then you look at the way the squad has evolved over the summer, and we've actually went back the way. So now, when we were one step away, maybe back in March, now suddenly it's like we're 5 or 6 steps behind, and it's like, God Almighty, what are they?
The squad's weaker,
doing?
Mate.
Aye,
weaker.
Yeah, you can't lose Kyogo in January and then lose Nicholas Kuhn and whatnot, and along the way, and the injuries to Jota and so forth. And yeah, we haven't really brought...
Schmeichel.
CCV's always got an injury concern. Hanging on Schmeichel, as you say, clearly is still toiling in some capacity.
Even wind the clock back further, and I know I hate bringing it up, did we ever replace Giakoumakis properly? No, we didn't. We didn't.
No, definitely wasn't a replacement for him. No.
Did we appropriately replace Starfelt? No, we didn't.
No.
We definitely didn't replace Kyogo. And we've only been Nigrin replaced Matt O'Reilly, truly.
Bernabe. Add Bernabe to that list as well. We went without a backup until Jeffrey Schlupp showed up. But we went off a season without another left back, just Taylor.
Aye, we did. That was a risky move that we took by doing that, because it was like Greg Taylor gets injured or suspended. Yeah. Who's going to play at left back at that point in time? No, we didn't have to cross that bridge, unfortunately, but we didn't get there. But it was one of those real touch and go moments when Bernabei, because Bernabei also left outside of our transfer window because the South American transfer window ran differently. So it was such a bizarre move. But hey, we got away with it at the end that time. But you won't always get away with it. That is the thing. Liam, on something that Steve was talking about there regarding the European stuff, what would you prefer? Celtic to be in the Champions League, sort of making up the numbers and maybe get by the round that we got to there, maybe get to the final round of 16, quarterfinals maybe, if something really dramatic happens, maybe not. Or do you think if we did drop into Europa League, even though the money is less, do you think we've actually got a chance of doing okay in that? What would you rather, a decent European run in a lower competition, or just being in the top one where, we might get a draw like we got last season? If we get into it, we might not. It could be a completely different scenario this season, because that draw, the way it works now, the new system with the computer doing it, it's going to be touch and go, man. It's going to be nervy watching those names come up at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, I know. We could get PSG, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Liverpool, and Napoli, I mean, that would be our luck as well. And that's a double-edged sword as well. We're having all these podcasts and conversations about getting into this Champions League and getting the players. Even if we do scrap through with the players we have and we manage to get into it, you're right, we're set up for some absolute doings if you get in there at that point. And so that's the other thing as well. If you want to compete as a global brand and make big Adidas spots and things like that, you got to have to put something on the park. You can't just have the jerseys. The jerseys look amazing, but it'd be so much good if there'd be a recognisable player or somebody other than Tierney, its marquee value, that we could put in that jersey and attract more interest to the club. I mean, that would be a big boost in itself, just signing a named player, somebody we know, somebody that's played in a World Cup or played in the Champions League before. I think we're screaming out for somebody on that left side, and maybe you bring in a winger. You bring in a winger that has a pedigree, somebody that's wanting to, I think I've said this before, somebody that's trying to make it onto a World Cup team. Some of the stuff that shows up in my feed when I'm working, I don't just keep YouTube on in the back and I don't change it. And sometimes I get stuff like Eric Winalda who talks about the US men's national team and MLS and stuff like that. And, you know, and he's talking right about players like Pulisic, Renia, Gio Renia. We talked about the last week, Phil. Yep. They're trying to get him on a team right now where he can play Champions League football, where he can be tested at the very highest, so that he can get a place on this US national team. Now, this World Cup's on the 250th anniversary of America. So if you don't think that's going to be a big thing for the USA, you've got, was it the president of FIFA has been hanging out with Trump and all that. Barron's supposedly a big fan. So you will see that this will have optics in America, and this will creep up really, really quickly. And all of a sudden, it's the biggest thing. And if you're an American-born player, you want to be part of that. So I think there's a lot of players out there for America, Japan, Argentina, Brazil, any of these teams that's qualified right now that is looking to get in that team. I think we should be an attractive option for them. So that's what my scouting would be looking at right now. It's like, okay, just like we've had great success with goalies that come in that are maybe winding down the career and looking for that one more showcase, right? That arena that they can go and get a flex before the end of the career with a few trophies and some fan accolades and that. You've seen it with Joe Hart, you know, you've seen it with Schmeichel and that as well. I'd like to see if we can bring in a player, no an older guy or that, but somebody that's looking to get into the US national team. And there's three of them that come to my mind in the US. Diego Luna, who's still playing MLS. I think he's a spark plug-y player. I would take a chance on him. Pulisic, I'm not sure if he's signed a contract, but Gio Reyna, despite his old man playing for Rangers, could come in. Could come in and be a good. He was on that same Dortmund team as Haaland and what do you call it, the English boy? Bellingham.
James Sancho and Bellingham. Yeah, he was in with,
so I mean, there's a good player out there with the right spark, and it's like, okay, maybe that's the type of players that bring out the best in Rodgers, where you need that sort of like, you need somebody to say, okay, let's revitalise your career. This is the place for you. Come here. You've got a good run at it. We've got maybe 8 Champions League games to get through if we get to that thing, or if not, have a really good UEFA run. But either way, it's you're offering European football. And for us to dismiss this in a way, well, let's see with the money if we get it or no, we should be doing everything we can to get European football. You look at the Club World Cup, look at all these sort of things. Like the Scottish game is getting marginalised and more marginalised. And right now, we're still a big club because of, what those men did in 1967. And then some of the further teams like Neil and that have came out and have played good, attractive football across the years. But we're going to lose that. We're going to lose that. We're going to be, somewhere behind Wrexham and Birmingham. We'll be a novelty team. We'll be a novelty team in no time if we don't start behaving like a team that has global aspirations and ambitions.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought, but yeah, they two teams have got some. Obviously, they're investing and they're promoting the team and marketing it all through their Amazon documentaries and their celebrity owners and whatnot, and that's bringing in the money for them. And they're two teams that are on the rise. But yeah, we've got the money already there. We've got it sitting in the bank. But Steve, this is something I know you like to message me about quite a lot on WhatsApp, and I think it is something that comes up quite a bit in the Celtic community right now. And it's one of these things that people don't say out loud, but I'm going to find a comment I saw further up. So Duppy Hunter has said, just saying the Zombies have spent 13 million and we've spent 3 million. So what's the best word I can use? I was going to say, are some Celtic fans afraid of the big bad wolf pretty much over in Ibrox? But obviously when they do see them making any sort of moves, they're going to get a bit more angsty because, oh God, they're out doing stuff. One day every summer seems they're in a position where they need to do a lot of moves, and this is not anything different to me. This has been a long time on the previous channel. On this one, they always say I'm the calmest man on the bus. It's not a gimmick. It's just literally I just kind of not too fazed by it. Every season we see this with them. Don't get it wrong. One day they will get it right, and it could come back and bite me. But at the moment, I'm just seeing what they do every summer. They do lots of moves, and I think some fans subconsciously on our side just get affected by that because you see them making moves and oh my god. So we don't know if any of them are any good. This is what I said earlier on. Every transfer's got an inherent risk. They could be good, they could be bad. So
you don't know. You don't know. This is the thing, and yeah, I agree. Like I always people say focus in your own house, absolutely, but I also think it's remiss and it'd be silly to not at least take a look at those around you. I mean, let's just look at Hibs for example. They've went and spent money. Now it's pocket change to Celtic, right? But they've went and pushed the boat a wee bit by their standard, get a great result against Midtjylland, and hopefully they can kick on, right? So there's an example of a team that are trying to develop to the best of their ability within their means and give their manager the best chance to further what he done last season, right? Now look at Rangers. I say this time over, they can only get better. This is the reality of the situation, right? And yeah, we've been so dominant where you've maybe taken for granted that there is anything that results in a genuine threat. I think that at periods last season, we were kind of aided and abetted by the fact that Rangers were that dog shit, right? Because, and I know it doesn't matter in the fullness of time, Celtic went and ran out comfortable winners. However, cast your mind back to the amount of times that we slip ups and they didn't capitalise on it. And then even that head-to-head derby record, if it got nip and tuck, if they managed to turn those losses into draws or those draws into wins, those games start to mean something. It's not wholesale what they need to do because the reality is, as I said, they can only get better. Now, whatever you think of Russell Martin, I'll be honest, I watched them the other night. I thought the first half they were horrendous. They probably should be even about 4-0 down at half-time, right? But chance went in their fortune and they managed to get away with it, right? Will they kick on? Did I look at them and think, I am worried about that team? No, I didn't. But at the same time, I'm also realistic that they are just new. They're developing, they're putting things together. It might just click in the same way it did with Ange, for all that we know. But again, to come back to what you're saying, they're spending money. And whether these players turn out to be amazing or just false dawns of somebody, you know, every time they sign somebody, the best midfielder in the country now, the best striker, whatever position it is, they always are instantly going to be the best in that position. One thing you can't fault them for is their manager has been given the tools at the earliest possible juncture. He's obviously went out and says, and you can tell most of the signings of the championship and likes of that, they've got his fingerprints all over it. He's identified these players. He said, I want them. And they've went out and have got them at least. Now, as I say, they might be crap, but it's irrelevant. They are giving their manager the best crack of the whip at the earliest possible way to bed in the team, bed in their ideas and make it happen for them. Celtic, on the other hand, with all the financial strength that we've got, with everything, the elite manager, the better resources, in my opinion, the better squad that you should be adding, supplementing, just improving, we are not doing that. That is the biggest problem, and that's why folk are getting antsy, because Celtic would go out at the last minute and scramble and buy players and then just hope that they hit the ground running. I come back to it. What did we say about Engels? What did we say about Ida? In too late, needed a full pre-season. There is benefits to being in the door early. Some players will just hit the ground, like when we got the Japanese guys and it was Atati and Maeda, they just hit the ground. It was fortunate. But for every player that's done that, there's been guys that have taken ages to bed in. And as Liam says about going out and getting a marquee player, the bit that always annoys me is it's like you're waiting on scraps. Wait till the big teams declare their team, their real take off the guys. No, see if you want a guy that's maybe like sitting on the bench, I don't know, Aston Villa or Chelsea or whatever it may well be, go and offer them the money and put a serious question to them whilst they are still theoretically part of that side. Make them have a genuine decision to make at an early point. Don't wait till they've been cast aside and then everybody and their granny's coming out. You know, attack it early. That's what Celtic should be doing. And there's no reason why we can't do it other than, I don't know, I just don't buy into this wait off pattern because it's tedious. You've got the money, you can get anybody you want if you really want to do it. You shouldn't have to wait off until they're laid to the side. That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, it's again very much a theme for years of it being reactive and not proactive, because Liam William too, on a similar note to that, he says, who cares what the Huns do? If they sort their stuff out, the board will belatedly wake up. And again, that is part of the issue. It's like we shouldn't be in a position where they need to be woken up by that. They should, you know, be proactive, but we've said it countless times since you and I first appeared on the Bhoys Bus in 2022. And it's like, it's something we talk about every single transfer window. It's like Celtic will react accordingly. Look at the January window. We were that far ahead of Rangers, even though we got decimated in the New Year game. We got absolutely humbled and we were dreadful on the day. But we let Kyogo go, and we were like, oh, we're that far ahead in the league, we'll just plod on without him, and didn't replace him, and we're still waiting on a replacement. But I do think that, there just needs to be a wee bit more proactiveness at times with the board, and yeah, it's because one day it will bite them in the backside. They will think, oh well, if they are being reactive to something Rangers have done, then it might not work. The best one I can think of is, it was years ago, and obviously some of the board members were a bit different, but I can still remember being down at Celtic Park at 1 a.m. when Robbie Keane signed midway through Tony Mowbray's season. We were 7 points behind at that point in January. And it was like, right, this league title's falling away from us. We need to do something big to get, one, the fans back on side, and two, get some quality in this team. And they pushed the boat out on deadline night for Robbie Keane. And it didn't work. It didn't work. The very next night we played Kilmarnock and we got beat. And it's like, so you could roll the dice, and we could find ourselves in a position where Rangers have been a bit of a threat this coming season. They do actually click into gear, and it's a proper squeaky bum time type of title race. And they might roll the dice and push something out, and it might not work. But to me, it's like, right now, we've went into the end of the season there, 2 trophies out of 3. We definitely needed some sort of refresh, and the fact that we're, bearing down now on the first competitive game and a Champions League game in a few weeks after that, and the squad's it's definitely weaker. It's like, it's honestly baffling, Liam. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, all we can do is sit here and try and predict or imagine what they might be planning and that. And every time we do it, this is my 3rd year with you guys now doing it. And yeah, you think it's going to happen, and then you try and act surprised when it doesn't. And it's like, oh, they're not going to try and do this again, are they? And they will. I don't know how the fans react to this. As a you don't talk about boycotts and things like that, because I'd love a chance to see Celtic. So getting somebody like me, even when you're back in holiday, to boycott would be hard. But
will be interesting a week on Sunday.
They'll be vocal. I think they'll be vocal. And I think that'll be it. I don't want to be booing the flag, but I think there has to be questions asked of where our chairman is, or our president, whatever you call him, Mike Nicholson. This guy is getting away with loads. I mean, here he is in a company like, you can't ask Celtic where so much money is being put in by fans. And, it's an entertainment property, and you can't get them to come out and address the fans and tell them any sort of plan what we have right now, including the plans for our manager. And he's another one as well, Phil, because I think he's implicit in this right now. The less he says, the worse it is for everybody. I don't want to feel that Rodgers is working his ticket, because he promised us a 3-year deal, and we're only going through the motions in this last year. Because Rodgers are going to go away, and that will give us like a real big war chest for the next manager. It's like, wait a minute, we're not taking the season off. So there's no returning season book money and saying, right, this is a free hit for Rodgers. I want to know what his plans are. If he's here just to do us a favour, I'd rather he didn't. I'd rather we got somebody in that had more of a voice and demand things from the board, because in the opportunities he's in, I think he needs to be far more vocal. He's still been very cryptic with the messages, and and it depends on your ambition. Whose ambition? My ambition. It depends on what's his ambition. If his ambition is to go forward and do that in Europe, come out and say that's your ambition. And if they don't give you the readies to help you meet those goals or return on that investment, then we'll all know. We'll know exactly where the problem is and where it's coming from right now. And I think he's got to stop being plain soft and just come out and tell us what's going on and what his plans are. Because the longer he messes about with us, like, he's like, I mean, he could wait until after the window and then leave. And then we've got a new manager coming in that doesn't, he's not got any chance to pull in players to January.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's a far out there sort of scenario, but
that is a scenario.
It has happened before. It has happened before. And so it's like, I don't want him sticking around. That's like breaking up with your wife, staying in the house and not being able to bring other women home. What doesn't work?
Well, what you said there about the type of profile manager you want, somebody does push back on the board. Do you know who doesn't want that? The board. And as we've speculated, that if Brendan sees out this last year and then he moves on, has Sean Maloney been brought in into the setup to at least move into that position? Is that what they're looking at? Because he does strike me as the type of guy that would be very much just he's just happy to be there in the job. And no doubt about it, Sean Maloney obviously loves the club. He played for us for many years and he was a fantastic one player of the year, one season under it, no doubt about it. But it's one that I don't think the fans are going to be too inspired about, given so far his managerial record. He always seemed to get a good reputation as a coach when he was working with, I want to say, was it Belgium, the Belgium national team, and whatnot. But that's my feeling. Where I think whenever we do get changes of manager, it needs to be a big character like what Ange Postecoglou was, like what Brendan Rodgers is. To go back to if it ends up being like a Sean Maloney in a year's time, or a Scott Brown comes in, or John Kennedy moves up to be manager, it's like, to me, I think with this job, it needs to be somebody who's got that sort of statesman type thing about like Martin O'Neill, one of the types of people in the game, not somebody who's still a relative rookie manager or quite a young manager. I think it'd be somebody with who's done quite a bit in the game.
Well, I'll give you a name, Phil. I mean, one of the players I'd like to see come back, and he's not in part of that current clique right now that seems to be around Celtic, is Jackie McNamara. Jackie McNamara's got a brilliant eye for developing talent. He's got players, he's got manager experience, he understands Scotland, and I think it won't take him long to understand Europe. And I think that's I'm surprised that we've never ever pushed out and then tried to involve him more in our club, seeing that he was such a good source. But I've watched Jackie McNamara in interviews, and that's very much his own man. And he's a bit of a hard case, and you can see how he could play for guys like O'Neill and all that as well. And I don't think he'd take kindly to this board. He'd probably tell him to go and jump, Well, he did. He did earlier. on the way to Wolverhampton, right?
Patrick McLaughlin with a good suggestion. Tell Maloney to go and beg Roberto Martinez. Martinez, this name's been linked with us over the years, but I have a funny feeling with what he's doing right now with Portugal. I think he's probably way out of our reach now, because they seem to be a team to watch out in the World Cup next year anyway. They look like a team that could do some serious damage after winning the Euro Nations League and all. So I think Martinez might be gone, but I agree with certainly there, Patrick McLaughlin. I thought Martinez would have been a good shout, but yeah, it does feel like he's getting out of our reach these days. But yeah, when the time comes that Brendan does leave, I hope it's not anytime soon. And if it is a year from now, then, well, I guess we can't call him a liar in any way, because he did say he'd be here for 3 years. But yeah, I do think the uncertainty that's hanging over with that is it's not good. I mean, we remember a couple of years ago as well with what happened to Liverpool, where they were in a title fight with Man City and Arsenal. It was a three-way race up until about March, and then Jurgen Klopp announced that he was leaving at the end of the season. And Liverpool's season just completely derailed after that. What if we're in a position where we're in a sort of neck-and-neck title race up until about March, February time, about there, and that's when it comes out that Brendan's leaving? That it could be the type of thing that does derail your season. So I think we do need to get some sort of certainty. I don't think there's any point in changing the manager. Even if Brendan came out and said, I'm leaving, definitely confirms it, I don't think there's any point in changing it now. I know some fans will be like, well, if he's leaving, just let him go now. Let's make a change, but I don't think that will work. I think we need to see it out for the season with him. But right now, they're not giving him the tools, I feel, for him to hit the ground running here this season. And I say from the top of the show, going into a week on Sunday, we are literally like one bad injury away to a couple of players that we could be in a real sticky position going into these competitive games.
Well, I'll tell you what, going into these games, what I saw of CCV, I don't think he'll be starting next week. He looks well off it. He looked like he was lumbering about out there and not fully fit. And all this talk about having a good pre-season. So he said no pre-season. Johnson said no pre-season. Trusty and Scales have yet to decide who's going to take that position through showing up and playing well. The only one that's looked half decent is that new boy, Dane Murray.
The unit. Aye.
So one of the good bits of that first half the other night is, he does look like a unit. And there was a couple of balls where he brought out a defence as well that I was like, who's that? I hope it's Murray. And I looked up, and it was. It's like he's just seen something new, a nice pass. It was It's a really nice pass. It cut out about 2 players and went right to the winger, right on his toe. And it was like, okay, that's a really good range of passing. And it was just after you'd seen Tierney set up that goal. So, I mean, that's one of the good points. But, he's no tested. He's no tested in Europe. He's no really tested in league games. And or maybe he is tested in Europe. I think we had him on with near Baton once. But
that'll test anybody.
Aye. But so that's a positive there. But also it just shows you it's like, all right, so is this the downturn now of CCV? Now he's had another injury and another not real pre-season. He misses a lot of games at the beginning of the year now, and again with a lack of communication. He was supposed to be getting an operation or had an operation, recovering from an operation. It'd be good if Rodgers could come out and just all right, well, where we are in the expectations of Callum Carter-Vickers playing this year. Are we looking at, is he coming in soon, or has he still got a lot of work to do because he didn't look fit the other night?
No, definitely not. It's going to be a concern rumbling on with Carter-Vickers as long as he's here. He's obviously a fantastic defender. Easy to say that since Virgil van Dijk, he's probably the best centre-back that we've had, no doubt about it. But yeah, he has got a bit of a checkered injury record, and that's probably one of the reasons why we haven't been fighting off loads of bids every single summer for him. You hear little murmurs about maybe like Everton or a Leeds United or something might be interested, but it never really comes to much. But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why. So in one way, it is good that we get to keep him, but it's also not very good if he's not fit all the time and not much used to his. I think there's been a couple of seasons as well where
5 years.
I think there's a couple of seasons where he's went away near the tail end of the season for an operation and no came back until just before the season kicks off. And so yeah, he's pretty much missed a pre-season. But as I said it the other night on me and David were on talking about, we've shown that we can get a player of that caliber. Again, it's all about doing your due diligence and scouting them. So getting another player, the quality of a Cameron Carter-Vickers, it isn't outside the realms of possibility, but right now, Brendan Rodgers pretty much confirmed that the right side of our centre-back pairing will be Carter-Vickers is the main man, and the understudy will be Dane Murray. That's it. And also Stevie Welsh is still around. So as long as he's around, I guess he'll be in the reckoning. But it's like, to me, when you've got a guy as good as Cameron Carter-Vickers when he's on it, even last season with some of his his checkered moments, injuries, there was some great, the cup final against Rangers when they broke on us 4-1, and he was left on his Todd, and he managed to stop them. They tried to square the ball, and he just slid in just to throw his body in front of it and managed to block it. And even in the game that we got beat 3-0, when it was still 1-0 at one point, there was a brilliant challenge that he pulled off where one of the Rangers players was through, and he's behind him, and it's one of the ones where if he slides and he mistackles him, he's going right through the back of him, and he's probably going to get sent off here, but he timed it perfectly, wrapped his leg around, cleared the ball. Sadly, the rest of the team just let him down on the day. We ended up getting pumped 3-0. But again, he's got it in him, even in with his checkered injury record. He's still got those big moments in him. So it's like we need to find a player again like how we can attract these players. We've attracted Cameron Carter-Vickers. We can surely do it again. But I keep coming back to the same point. I keep getting this lingering feeling in my head, Liam, where like, what does this say for the current scouting network at Celtic? Where it's like, is that what the problem is here? They're afraid to go and spend it. We've only changed the scouting network recently with Tisdale taking over as the sort of head of recruitment, chief scout, whatever it is. And it's like, are they already showing doubt that he's the man for the job? Again, we don't know, because as you've said already, Liam, we don't hear from anybody, the hierarchy. It's only Brendan Rodgers, the only one that we hear from. So we can only take what comes out of the manager's mouth. It's the only thing we've got to go on. We don't hear from Lawwell. We don't hear from Nicholson. We don't hear from Tisdale. Has Tisdale even done any interviews? Do we even know what this guy sounds like? Do we know what he looks like? I know he wears a wee fedora hat. Apparently, he's always kicking about one of them. I've seen pictures of him when he was, I want to say Bristol City or something like that. He was with before. But yeah, I mean, we don't hear any sort of what's going on there. So the only person that's given us any kind of communication is the manager, and there's a lot of questions around him as well. So you can understand why fans are getting a little bit nervy at this stage, Liam.
Oh, well, especially with Rodgers being so cryptic as well, He doesn't come out and say exactly what it means. It's always a wee riddle, a wee innuendo. He's letting you in on something that you're his pal. I don't know. They drives me nuts, Rogers, and I think right now he could solve a lot of their problems by just coming out and actually, even if he just describes the type of player he wants, if he comes out and he says, "Okay, here's the type of player I'm wanting to go into my system," then we know out there that it's no a £1.5 million player for a team in Belgium. You know what I mean? That's not going to cut it. And that seems the thing that's shocking as well. It's like talking about lowballing players for like 5 million or 1.5 million. We think there's a $1.5 million pound solution to our winger that we can get in, that somehow is a solution. Whereas I don't think that's going to get us a player that's going to give us make any sort of difference for us in a Champions League game. I know we've got value for players before, but when you're talking and you want to be risk adverse, you got to pay that money. That's what the heavy price tag is for, is because they're probably going to come into the team and be able to start playing right away and, have an idea how to switch a system or just play a different tactic and that, but come in and actually make a difference. That's what the expensive price tags are for. 1.5, that's just hoping. That's what, Rangers are doing that then. They're playing a lot of money for players to come in and that a lot of them are just a hope and a prayer type players. But at least they're trying. They're trying and they're going out and trying to make it happen. And I wish we would show a little bit more urgency that we are also there as well, that we're not, again, sleep at the wheel.
Yeah, picking up on what you're saying there about Brendan Rodgers' communication and talking about the players, what I would like to hear from him, the word he keeps using is quality, we need quality players. I'd like him to expand on that because it's a very easy term to just apply. And it's like, I think if he could be a bit more specific of what exactly, the characteristics he's looking for, because he just keeps on using, we need to bring in quality and whatnot. And, I know he's identified wingers recently because obviously we certainly need them. And he has highlighted that we probably need to replace the goals because of Kyogo. But I think if he could tell us more what's going on in his mind or what type of players he's looking to bring in rather than just using the sort of very generic quality term, then I feel like there's a wee bit, again, it's because he's the only one giving us anything. We ain't got much to go on, sadly, but I do feel like it wouldn't, it would probably give the fans a wee bit more of a calmer idea of what's going on here, Brendan, if you tell us the types of players you're looking for, essentially, rather than just always saying we need to bring in quality, because what is quality? Define it,
But would give us a much better idea if the board are actually doing their job and if the scouting is actually out there working, And so that's what I think we need to do, is like get a better job description, and we might actually see that person showing up, and we'll see who we're like to, and that will show us whether the board and the scouting staff and Brendan have any alignment whatsoever.
No, definitely. Well, I'm trying to re-add Steve-O just now.
No, where's he gone?
He basically, because he was having a bit of back pain, so he had to go and kind of walk around. But as you can see, I've tried to re-add him, and it's now just an empty space below, so a little buffering circle just going round. So I guess Steve-O's camera's goosed or whatever's goosed. But we have been going for an hour and 10 on this fine Friday evening, so you and I can wrap it up, Liam. If Steve-O comes back in, we'll catch up with him in the studio after it. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there, folks. It's been another Friday Feeling. Next week's Friday Feeling, we'll finally be back to domestic football when we can talk about the game coming up. We can talk about it because we've not even discussed the third place playoff against Al Ahly this weekend. Do we really care? I mean, the preseason trebles out the window.
Do you see it, Phil? Do you see who plays in their squad?
Riyad Mahrez, Ivan Toney. Who else have they got? Roberto Firmino still. I believe they're also the Asian Champions League winners as well. So they ain't no mugs. I believe they are part of the big four in Saudi Arabia. There's like 4 teams that are all owned by the same people because a conflict of interest. Why not? But they're one of the big ones. But yeah, they've got a fair few stars in their team. So there'll be no pushovers. So Celtic might need to make do with a wooden spoon here at the Como Cup. But yeah, this time next week, we will be looking forward to the St Mirren game. We'll also try and do maybe another show between now and then as well. Say TikToking can pop up at any time. How will you know when TikToking is on? You can hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and you will see it pop up in your notifications on YouTube. But yeah, Steve-O's been trying to connect again, but it's just not happening. We'll catch him in the studio after it. But thanks to Steve-O for jumping on earlier. You can check him out at Celtic World Order as well. Obviously, head over there and show them some love. Hit the old subscribe button over there if you haven't done so already. Although I do believe there's a lot of crossover between the viewers that watch us and the viewers that watch CWO. So if you've came from CWO and you've only just discovered us, then hit the subscribe button on our channel. Help us get to that magic 500 before the season starts. And then it'll be the next milestone. After that, it'll be 1,000. But yeah, 500 is our little target we've got for the start of the season. And yeah, hit the like button on the way out. Helps us with old traction on the old algorithms and all that jazz, all that stuff I say all the time. And yeah, Liam, for another fun Friday night. We've got a lot off our chest tonight, dissecting, you know, what's going on right now at the club. Hopefully this time next week we've got some new signings to talk about. That would be really, really good, Celtic, if you could do that. We'd really appreciate it massively. And I say we'll be looking forward to the St Mirren game as well next week. So we will head off now. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever you are doing. And yeah, it's not long to wait now, folks. Celtic will be back properly in competitive action in the next weekend. So we're counting down the year now. Let's do it, guys. Right, we'll catch you later. All the best, guys, and thanks for watching. See ya.
Cool.